Hi there. Today we are going to cover the basics of hosting a Zoom meeting. So the first thing you're going to need to do when hosting meetings is create a scheduled meeting that you will share with those that you want to join. The easiest way to do that is by using the scheduler right in Zoom. So you click schedule, rename it, choose your date and time of when the meeting is going to be. And if this is going to be a meeting that recurs on a weekly, monthly, etc. basis, you could choose this option. Now, every meeting has its own meeting ID number, and with your account, it will generate a personal meeting ID that you can use and share, or you can have it generate a new ID for different types of meetings. So again, if this is a reoccurring meeting, you could have it generate it and it would always have that same meeting ID for that specific meeting. You can require a password, but you need to make sure to share that password with those that you invite to your meeting, otherwise they will not be able to get in. If you don't want that extra security feature, you just unclick it. Down here you have the option to turn on the video automatically. The host would be yourself. Do you want your video automatically on or off? And the participants, when they join, do you want their video on or off? If you are inviting people that are not as experienced with using Zoom, I would recommend turning this on for them so that they don't have to go through the process of figuring out how to turn on their video or their audio. But the standard is they are off. And as you scroll down, you get more options. So you need to choose where your audio comes from. Typically, you will want telephone and computer audio. Basically, this chooses the default setting for the device you're using. Now, if you have some kind of external speaker, you could choose a third-party audio. And then this calendar option is how are you going to invite your participants. You can choose different types if it's an Apple, Google, or other type of calendars. I recommend sticking with other calendar, and it will give you the option to just copy and paste that invitation to wherever you would like to share it. Additional options is where you can enable a waiting room. So if you want people to be able to get into the meeting before you happen to be there, but you don't want them fully in, you need to approve them, you can use a waiting room, or if you needed added extra security, this is an option as well. So you would have to click and turn it on. This is where you can allow people to join before the host, so they're joining before you arrive. These are typically used for casual meetings. If you want people to be able to join before you enter and maybe talk freely, this might be an option. You also have the mute participants upon entry. This is again another item that if you are inviting those that are not as comfortable with Zoom, I would turn this off so that they don't have to mess with their microphone or video upon entering. But if you don't want a bunch of disturbance as people enter the room, you definitely want them to be muted upon entry. Authenticated users gets into having to use registered accounts, which can be a little bit more tricky. So I would typically leave this one alone. And if you want to record the meeting that's going to happen, you can turn it on so it will automatically start recording when you start the meeting. These you want to make sure you announce to your participants that you will be recording, just so that they know that that meeting will be recorded. You can also assign alternative hosts. If you plan on somebody helping you through the training and aiding in some capacity, you could go ahead and put their Zoom account email in this space. Once you've clicked schedule, you'll be given this screen so that you can copy the invitation and paste it into whatever area you want to invite your participants in. You will want to make sure the times are correct because it picks up your time zone of your device when you create it. So if you happen to be traveling and are in a different time zone than what you will be when you run the meeting, you will want to make note of that in your email. And then we can close this. Now, to find your scheduled meetings, you can go to meetings, and it will be here, and past meetings that you've created will be listed below. And it does separate them by reoccurring and non-reoccurring. So when you want to start, It doesn't have to be the time you assigned. If you want to start it early because you need to get ready with things, you can go ahead and start it early. You can again copy your invitation if you were not able to do it or forgot or lost it when you were setting the meeting up. You can go back and edit it. Even though you've already set it up, you can make any of the changes that we previously made. If you don't use this meeting anymore, this is where you would delete it, and we will go ahead and start this one. Now again, you're giving the option to join with computer audio or a separate microphone. Typically you want to join with your computer audio. Now my setting for this was that my video was turned off. So down here is our most basic functions. This is my sound, and you can tell my sound is on because it does not have a red line through it, and you can see my audio jumping up and down. I can click and turn it off. It reminds me that I am muted because it hears me talking. And then click here to start your video. Now on this arrow, you have the option of changing your background. I already have a virtual background built in, but if I wanted to change it, I could choose this, and there is some preset ones, or you can load some in, and we will talk more about that in advanced settings. So going down the row here, we'll go through the settings for Zoom. Security is your first option. If you did not already build your waiting rooms in, you can do that here and just enable the waiting room. So anyone that joins at this point will be put into a waiting room, a holding room for the time being, and I will get a notification in this participants section of who is wanting to join. And down here is the options where you can choose what the participants are able to do during this session. So you can allow them to share screen, chat, or rename themselves. This one you probably want to allow because Zoom automatically picks up your account name, and if it's spouses or someone in the same household that are using the same name, sometimes they need to be able to rename themselves. But these are preset to be on. Waiting room is not. So moving on to participants, this is where you can manage those that are in your meeting. So here I only have one person. If you have participants in here, it will give you additional options such as make co-host, and change their rights in general. You can also mute a participant or unmute them. Now, I should know only hosts and co-hosts are allowed to mute and unmute participants. And down here we have a few other options that you will see in the participants view as well. Now, you can mute all, which is a great feature when you have large groups. Just know that when you mute or unmute all, you will also be muting your speaker. Going down the row, we have our chat box, which if you already have participants open, it will just open below. One of the new upgrades is you can now attach a file, and you are given different options of where you want to pull that file from. You can also type in or copy and paste a URL, and when you hit enter, it will automatically turn it into a clickable link. You also have options here of who is allowed to chat, and once there is content in the chat area, you can save it. So this is something you may want to do at the end of a meeting. It's also a setting you can build in originally to automatically save the chat, and we'll discuss that a little bit further in advanced settings. Moving on to the share screen option. When clicking this button, it will give you various options for what you would like to share with your participants. If you have another desktop connected or another screen, it will pop that option up as well. And you just simply click whichever option you want. They do offer an interactive whiteboard that you can use. This is something we'll discuss later in the advanced Zoom meeting sessions. Once choosing what you want to share with your participants, you click share and it will pop up for them. You will also be given a top bar up here, which are mainly your icons that you would have had down below previously. We'll go through some of these options in the advanced video, but here is where you would stop sharing and it will take you back to your default Zoom. You can also record your meetings, and you can choose to record on the computer or on Zoom Cloud. And the last thing we're going to cover is breakout rooms. So Zoom will automatically generate breakout rooms for you if you want to randomize your participants. You simply select how many rooms you want to have, make sure it's clicked on automatically and create breakout rooms. Now, it will allow you to rename them or delete if you accidentally typed in too many or too little rooms. You can add one if you didn't put enough in. And if you change your mind and want to assign a certain participant to a room, you can click assign, and it will actually give you a list of all of those that are involved in the Zoom session. There's additional options down here on the bottom where you can force participants to be moved automatically. So there again, if you are working with people that are not as experienced with Zoom and you want to create the least amount of button clicking requirements as possible, you can click this button and it will force them to go into those rooms. It's also auto preset to allow participants to return to the main session at any time. You can change the time in which the breakout session will last. So if you just want it to be a short session, you can change it. And this will actually create a timer for the participants to see in the breakout rooms as well. If you want to be notified when the session is going to be up to where you can leave the session open, you can make sure this notify me is turned on. However, if you just want it to automatically close the room after 10 minutes, you can unclick it. And the last feature they offer is a countdown after the breakout room should close. So this would actually be an 11-minute breakout room if this was set to a countdown with 60 seconds. So whatever time is put in here, it will add to your automatic close time in the end. So once you have everything set up, you would open all rooms. Now, as soon as you click the Open All Rooms option, it will automatically create the pop-up for participants to join on their own or force them into the room automatically, depending upon what you chose as your settings. So these are your basic Zoom host features. I just want to thank you for joining and hope you got some great information out of it. Thanks and have a great day.